Okay, let's talk some more charts and let's talk some trading with Gareth Soloway, Chief Market Strategist of Verified Investing. Gareth, how's the best way to play the rotation at this point? Does it just turn into a high correlation move at some point or another?
Yeah, it's a great question. And I think the key is, you're getting a little bit of a pullback on the Russell today. What you're looking for is a little bit more of a pullback. You might get a technical bounce in the mega caps here into next week. I could see early next week, just a rotation by the dip mentality. But then I think you go right back to buying those small caps again, the small and mid cap, the Russell. It still should have some legs left. And I think the caveat here is that you're looking for when the economic data finally really turns, right? Right now, it's a little weaker, but it's okay. It's still a soft landing. That's the perfect zone with Fed rate cuts for the small caps. But once you get to that point where the economy really starts to go south, you have to not only move out of small caps, but stay out of big caps as well.
What will you be looking for to know if something like that is developing?
So I think the big catalyst is going to be the jobs market, right? So we see consumer spending slowing, but then we got a good retail sales number earlier this week. But really, once those jobs start turning negative, where every month on that final, that first day of the next Friday of the next month, we get that non-farm payrolls number. Once those flip negative, I think it's a very slippery slope. You already see, again, the consumer struggling, U.S. debt, again, continuing to spiral out of control. It's all things that really will hurt the economy. And the Fed rate cuts, if we remember, it's the market actually starts to turn down when the Fed officially starts cutting rates. It's all the expectation of rate cuts that have kept things going up. So there's a couple things, but that jobs number is going to be the key.
Okay. And you're pointing out something important, which is that you're operating by a kind of bad will be bad framework for stocks. And I think that's a very crucial reminder that here in the last couple of weeks, that has kind of been the case. When you rotate into stuff that depends on the economy, you can't really do the good, bad, inverse thing anymore.
That's right. That's right. And I think that's why people have to be very careful in the small and mid cap trade, is that it's great to get in when we're in this kind of zone of like, okay, we're starting to see the flip to bad news is bad news, but people are still holding out hope the Federal Reserve can kind of engineer that perfect landing. But once that narrative goes away, and once we see the economy starting to head towards recession, really small caps will underperform because, again, they're reliant on that consumer just like the large caps. And that's where money will rotate fully out of the market. Right now, we're just seeing it rotate from big caps into small caps and vice versa, but eventually it will. When fear comes in, and we're seeing the VIX spike today a little bit, but not enough yet. But once that fear comes in, that's where the money does start to actually leave the market.
All right. Let's talk some trades that you're watching. Nvidia, firstly, going into earnings. Did we hold or did we break this week? I can't decide. We keep flirting with like 119, and that's been one of the lines in the sand for me. You've got a little bit of a different line you're looking at.
Yeah. So for me, the breakdown has begun here. And again, we've seen a break in trend, at least the trend from that last earnings report. So I do think that, again, this is now the beginning of something bigger. It doesn't mean we're not going to see necessarily a little bit of a bounce here and there. I think the hype is still out there. The AI narrative will reemerge. But really, we're seeing this thing start to ASML was a big turning point for this market. Taiwan Semi, I think we have to make sure that we recognize that Taiwan Semi was a great report. And the mere fact that the market and the AI stocks did not rally on that is very telling for what we're heading into going forward. So I do look for further downside. I think eventually by the next 2 to 3 months, we're down to about $95 to $100 on Nvidia.
Wow. All right. But then we find some appetite down there?
Yeah, I do think so. I do think so. I mean, Nvidia is still going to print money, essentially. It's just that their margins probably are going to start to contract a little bit. So that has to be discounted into the stock price. But ultimately, it's still the best of breed, and there will be buyers. I mean, think about how many people were rushing in when it was at 140. Now you can get it at 95 or 100. It sounds like a steal of a deal.
Right. Love it. Fun trade, but could cause some damage in the market. You're looking for something similar in Tesla, who does report next week. So we might get an answer more quickly on that one.
Yeah, and Tesla's a really interesting one. So it has started to break down a little bit, but in all fairness, I think it was up almost 100% from peak to trough, right? So it's had a monstrous run. I think we have to look for just a little bit of a give back as investors that have bought up here. They're getting a little nervous, right? I mean, the markets are making people a little uneasy with this correction right now. And I do think that that causes a general decline in stock price. But I think there's a base floor underneath Tesla for a couple reasons. Number one, the robo-taxi, right? The robo-taxi situation. And number two, really Elon Musk is cozying up to Donald Trump. And if Donald Trump is looking like he's going to be the president, the next president, well, then that does give people this incentive to say, oh, maybe Tesla will be favored in the new administration from this effort by Elon Musk. And so I do think a pullback it makes sense with Tesla. I think you're looking at a pullback maybe down to that kind of 200, 205 level. But once we get there, I think you find some buyers there going into the election.
Okay. Then today, though, there's this report out that Trump said in a rally he's going to kill the EV tax break and mandates like day one. I don't, who knows? But,
So I think, and if I could just interject here, I actually think Elon Musk wants that. And I know that sounds crazy, but Elon Musk said he doesn't care. He thinks the government should get away from these tax breaks. And his angle is very simple. Tax breaks are the best for companies that are emerging, new startups, right? They need that help. But Tesla wants that competition squashed. And so really, he's almost going for that. He's gunning for that hope that gets rid of it. And Tesla is now such an established company with robo-taxis coming that they've already gotten past that phase. And I think that's why he's saying it's okay.
Okay. Yeah, fair enough. Good point. I guess it wouldn't hurt Tesla as much as it would a Rivian, something like that, right? Get them squashed and under pressure, and maybe that works for you. I hear that. Okay. Can't play with fire, but it might work. It's just so crazy it might work. Gareth.
Elon plays with fire.
That's right. Hey, let's talk Palantir for a sec. Why this one? It's a pretty interesting trade given that it's been in a mostly consistent channel and strong. How are you reading this?
Yeah, so you're right. It's been in a great channel right now. It's been trending up, but ultimately what we're finding is that on a technical basis, it's now into this $30 level, which was the high pivot going back to 2021. And just in general, it's getting a little overbought, a little ahead of its skis here. And so based on that technical analysis, I would expect a check back to the low end of the channel, which is somewhere in that $22 to $20 range. So again, look for just a check back here, and then really it's going to have to put up or shut up. It's either got to come through with some of this AI stuff, some really exciting new things and revenue growth, or if it breaks that channel, watch out below. But right now you look to buy the channel until it's broken. Okay.
All right. Like that. So one to kind of watch a little bit less obvious directionally for the moment, but maybe a short-term kind of trade there. While I got you, Gareth, thoughts on some of the stuff around the edges? Today we got gold given back after recent gains. Bitcoin kind of way out doing its own thing today. Does that catch your attention at all?
Yeah, so Bitcoin's very interesting because you could take the CrowdStrike issue today from one side or the other, meaning that, today was a great day where you could say, hey, listen, if the grid goes down, gold is my friend, right? Holding some physical gold makes a lot of sense, especially in a cashless society, which is the direction we're moving. But then on the other side, you say, okay, well, if the fiat stuff and all these systems go down, Bitcoin and that blockchain is something that is there forever, right? It's supposedly unhackable. So I can understand why there's getting some kind of buying pressure there in Bitcoin. Gold is another story. I mean, gold is coming down. The dollar is strengthening a little bit, but it is a little bit of a surprising pullback in gold today. I will say that I'm looking to nibble even on silver just a little bit down in this range.
Okay. All right. So buying a little dip there on the precious metals. I guess I could see the Bitcoin justification through the systems going down maybe. All right. Okay. We'll get on board for a little Friday narrative with that. Gareth, thanks for your time as always.
Thank you so much, buddy. Take care.
Yeah, appreciate the charts, appreciate the analysis. Gareth Soloway, Chief Market Strategist, Verified Investing.